Greetings. My name is Gregorio Armand, and I serve as a member of the Delta Rho Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Our chapter is located in San Antonio, Texas. Through our national program, known as A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, we seek to lead and educate our local community concerning the importance of voting. To that end, we've decided to host virtual conversations with selfless local leaders that are also passionate about voting. Thank you for joining us and enjoy our first conversation with County Court Judge Yolanda Huff.
Thank you for inviting me to this, just explaining to the public how important it is to get out the votes. My name is Judge Yolanda Huff. I preside over County Court 12, and I also preside over the Mental Health Court. It's actually a docket within County Court 12. County Court 12 is a misdemeanor criminal bench. It's located here in Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas. And again, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. I'm going to tell you, you and Judge Uzomba were the first two I had in mind when they said, let's talk to local leaders about the importance of voting. And I can't think of other than people that have been in an elected position, because you've been on both sides. So I'm thinking somebody that's been elected, that has gone through it, as well as is in the position that, like all of us are, in order to vote. So you of all people would know the effects of voting.
Yes.
And so I want to start off right with a few questions here. Why does voting matter to you, Judge Huff?
Okay, voting matters to me so much because I am a mother of three, and I know how important everyone out here that has children know how important that if you're not going to do anything for yourself, we as parents really know how important things are, that we do certain things for the future. Voting is so important to me because it impacts our lives in such a real way. Now, in my opinion, the legal system and the healthcare system are two of the most important things to the Black community. Mm-hmm. And it's two of the things that I find that when we start discussing these things that the community know the least about. Now, I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. When I was campaigning, I took the bench in January 1 of 2019. So I've been on the bench a little bit over a year and a half now. Now, when I was campaigning, I would say to the public, I would say to everyone that would come before, and I would ask people in the audience to raise their hand, how many know that there's not one elected Black judge in all of Bexar County? And we're talking about a city of almost 1.7 million people. How many people know that? It would, most of the time, there would be nobody that would raise their hand because people just didn't know that. Or it'd be one or two people that would say, yeah, I knew that. But those people would be like what people would be like president of NAACP, people in the know. But this people didn't know that there was not one elected Black judge in all of, can you imagine a city that almost has 2 million people in it?
Right.
And I'm like, why don't you know this? And I would tell people, do you realize that the courts are taxpayer supported entities? You have the absolute right to go down to any courthouse, sit in that courthouse and listen to what any judge is saying, how judges are deciding things, what the sentences the judges are giving. Educate yourself. People don't seem to care about your judicial system unless their loved ones are involved. Someone that they know is going to jail. Then they want to say, oh, how's that judge? What is that judge like? Well, it's important to educate yourself about these things because I tell you, Greg, this is the important thing, most important thing people don't realize. It's not that I'm a Black judge and I'm gonna get on that bench. It's that when we elect judges, and when I was running, there were about, up and down the ballot, maybe about 42 judges. And I mean all the way from county court, district court, a court of appeals, probate court, all the way up and down, 42. So it's a lot to go through, a lot for, just a common person to know. But when you get when the judges get on the bench, these judges get on committees, and these committees make decisions that have real impact in your personal life. Now, I'll give you an example of this. How long have you been in San Antonio?
Let me see, 2001. I was military, so I was stationed here 2001 to 04, came back in 07. So since 07, continuously.
So about 20 years, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So did you know there was such a there was a board in San Antonio, and I've tested this to a lot of people that when you when the government seizes your land, and the government wants to give you a price for that land, and you want to say no, I want more, but I think my land is more. There's a committee that you will go before to say the government seized my land and I want more. There's a board that decides that. Now that board is made up of just ordinary citizens in Bexar County, and the judge picks the people that are on that board. And the only thing that two things are required of you is that you are a resident of Bexar County, and that you live in Bexar County, you own property in Bexar County, and you get paid to be on this board $250 an hour. Now now when I heard about this board, this was after I'd taken a bench. I've been in Bexar County since '93 when I came here for law school. Been practicing law here for 21 years. I had never heard of this board. I'm like, what? There's such a board that decides this? Like, yes, there is a board. Like, now, you know why I never knew that? You know why you've never known that? You know why I would ask the president and the important political people that never heard of that board. People would be surprised. It's because we've never had a seat at the table. That's why we didn't know about this board. Now, the judge that took over that bench was a young Hispanic woman. She came to me and she said, when we had both taken a bench, she says, hey, there's this board, eminent domain. She says, this board is just made up of all just elderly white men. She's like, I think this board that deals with the whole Bexar County should be more diverse. She said, could you give me a list of people that you think from the community that could be? I sure can. I was giving her names like crazy, man. I was like, John Owens, Keith Tone. I was giving her names that I think that should be on this board because she was so right. Like, how could it be that people that have been in this community have never, like I could have given them your name, Greg, if I had known you at the time. That wouldn't you like to be on the board that when they call you down there, you spend a day or two working $250 an hour, and you get to make the decision that was the government right in giving this person how much for taking their land. And so I'm saying this to say that if we don't have someone on the bench that sits on these committees that make this, we don't have anyone in the room looking out for us, then we don't have a seat at the table. And I'll say this also, magistrate judges that when you get arrested, you go before, that's the first judge you go before. So the police officer arrests you, take before a mag judge. That judge reads your rights, sets your bond, and then you're out, right? Then you got to deal with, you come to a judge like me after that. Just a misdemeanor, you come to me, felony, you go to a different. Well, anyway, we had never in the whole history of Bexar County ever had a black mag judge. Never until, so Gracie Zuma and I are black county court judges, and Stephanie Boyd is a district court judge, right? Now, the district court judges are the ones that hire these mag judges. These are judges that get appointed by other judges. So the district court judge will come together, the committee, have a meeting, and they'll every 2 years they'll post is who's gonna get hired to do these mag judge. Well, we had never had a mag judge, black mag judge ever until Stephanie Boyd got on that. It became a district court judge. There needs to be some diversity down here. And I'm like, the mag judges control so much because that is the last ditch effort that when you get arrested and the cops take this before a judge, that judge at that point can say, nah, there's not enough evidence here. I'm gonna kick this case back. Never in the whole history of Bexar County have there ever been a black Bexar County mag judge. And people just do not even know these things until we get a seat at the table that to understand what the committees are doing. The Bexar County judges and judges like me, when we have our committees, we in these committees we'll make decisions like how much a bond should be, how much like if you cannot afford an attorney and you're appointed, we make decisions on like who can be on that list to be a defense attorney. Who can, if the defense attorney gets money to go visit you in jail. These are decisions besides just, window jail if we get a black person on the bench. But when you're voting these people in, these people need to understand that these judges get on the bench, they're getting into committees that are, these committees are making decisions that have a real impact on your life. And these are things that I'm saying that I'm all about transparency, man. I am so, like, I want people to know what is going on at the courthouse. Like, you know, when I came and spoke to you guys and I told you guys about the specialty course, I gave you guys these booklets.
Let me preface that, because
Okay.
everybody that is seeing this that is not going to know
Okay.
exactly how this came about. So
Okay.
how I met Judge Huff and Judge Uzomba is I was at an NAACP meeting here in San Antonio, which is led by one of my frat brothers, Brother Gregory Hudspeth.
Mhm.
And Judge Huff was talking to the group about specialty courts. And the passion that you had, you guys were passing out packages, I remember, and you had passed them all out before it got to me. So I said, I need to get to that sister and ask her if she doesn't mind coming to speak with us on Lackland Air Force Base, where I'm also a member and one of the leaders of the Joint Base San Antonio African American Cultural Association. So I asked Judge Huff to come and speak with us about specialty courts. And based on what you just said, I gather that access is the key word, in that you are allowing us by voting, we get access to certain things that we would not have gotten access to based on the person that we voted, because we would have known nothing about those specialty courts had it not been for you leading the group that's going out and sharing with the community of San Antonio what these options are that are available to all of us.
You know, and then again, you've been here since 2001. Had you ever heard of a specialty court ever in Bexar County before? And specialty courts were actually formed in Bexar County in 2001. Me and Judge Boyd were two of the first, we were some of the first attorneys to actually serve in a specialty court, because a specialty court, it's just a docket really. And what it is that within these courts done in Bexar County, the felony and the misdemeanor, these judges have special dockets that deal with issues that are facing people that find themselves in the judicial system in a very intensive, real way. I preside over the mental health court. We have the DWI court, a drug court, veterans court, a felony and a misdemeanor one. We have CPS court, we have juvenile specialty court, so many. So if you find yourself in the judicial system, like you have a drug problem and you have a felony drug case, there are options. Instead of going to prison, you can ask your defense attorney, hey, I really want help for my drug problem, because but for my drug problem, I would probably be in the judicial system. Well, if you never knew that there is an option, these special courts are intensive, they're hard. They, like my court, that program lasts a year. The felony drug program is 2 years. A veterans special court program is 2 years. But if we don't deal with the drug problem or alcoholism problem or mental health problem in a real way, we find that people just cycle in and out of the judicial system. Now, I was trying to say to families, there are options. People just didn't know, like when I made that announcement at the NAACP, that this is what happened. I was elected, and I knew about specialty courts because like I said, I was involved in the first one that got formed in 2001, and so was Judge Boyd. So when we got on the bench, now, way back then when we were trying to get them running, and I remember specifically Susan Reed was the DA at the time. Yeah. They laughed at this idea. This was horrible ideas. We were being soft on crime. Why do we have these special programs? You know, you just need to lock them up longer, lock them up, build more prisons. That was a sentiment, you know, during the 80s and the early 90s, lock them, build more prisons. Well, these special courts were formed to deal with, just locking someone up and throwing away a key. These people are going to get out eventually. They're going to be right in the same situation. So we were trying way back 20 years ago, they weren't hearing it. We couldn't get some of those Republican judges to let people into that defense into these specialty courts. Now, 20 years later, the programs really work. My success rate in my program is 80%. That means if you can successfully go through this program for a year, I won't see you in the judicial system. We measure that by, if we don't see you in the judicial system in 3 years, 5 years, I've done my job. I've kept you at the system. I've helped you get back on track in life with your mental health problems and your drug addiction problems. So now 20 years later, we know these programs work. But the program when I got back on when I got the bid, it was just. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
You said, people laughed at it. They were like, it's not going to work. So it's kind of in the same line of people right now when it comes to voting. They say, it's the system is going to be the same. It's all rigged. We're still going to be in this condition. Why should I vote? It really doesn't matter to me.
what would you
If,
tell that person? Because you just got into something that
because
definitely.
if you don't vote, if you can't complain if you're not voting, because, and I'll tell young people this: change comes slowly. It doesn't come in the blink of an eye. People would say to me, why should I vote? You know, and nothing's going to change. And I said, you're voting for your children, and perhaps even your grandchildren, and maybe even your great grandchildren. Look at Martin Luther King. He knew he wasn't going to reap the rewards of what he was doing. But people like me, I'm now sitting on the bench in San Antonio because of someone like Martin Luther King 50 or 60 years later. And the same thing people would say to me, what has Barack Obama done for us? And I'm like, first of all, what has all the other white presidents done for you that Barack hasn't? Like, tell me that. And then they're stuck, like, what, is he supposed to be the Superman? Like, come on now. The very fact that we got a Black man elected to be president of America, if nothing else, that my boys, I have 2 sons, can see that this can be done. You can see someone that reflects, that looks like you as president. And I just don't, it's like, you will see the needle moving slowly, slowly, slowly. What I'm doing and the changes I'm making are going to benefit people that are in law school 20 years from now. You know, you have to believe that how change comes, like you're being immature if you're thinking like, well, someone's going to get office and immediate things going to change. Now, look how far the needle has been moved since the incident, the whole thing with George Floyd. Well, did we ever think things would change as quickly? You know, all these companies suddenly come to realizations about, you know, the systematic racism in America. Things happen, but we have to vote to get people in a position to be an instrument of these changes. And if you don't want to complain about if you want to complain that things are not changing fast enough, then vote. Get ready, because you're helping your children, perhaps your grandchildren and children on down the road by voting now. And another thing, this is what, you know, when I was having those seminars and I was trying to explain to everybody about the special court, I'm just telling people over and over again, people always want to ask me questions about the judicial system. How's the judicial system? Here I am having free seminars all over the city, and I'm just telling people, come, educate yourself, come learn. You want to complain, but then when someone does something, you don't want to take the 2 hours out of your life on a Saturday morning to come educate. It's all about education to me. You got to educate yourself. You got to do your research.
That is exactly what my next topic was. How can the public be better informed concerning these candidates and the issues that are at stake?
When I was running, oh my God, if I wanted to, I could have been at an event every night, or somebody was hosting, like, we're having a judicial conference here, a church is having someone here, come and meet the candidate here, come over here. If you want to meet the candidates, if you want to get informed, you can surely do it, because I'm telling you, every organization and their mama was out there having an event to educate people about the judicial. Because if someone says, well, I don't know, it's very hard, it's because, do you want to know the information or do you not want to? Because if you want to educate yourself about the judicial candidates that are, like right now, we have the presidential campaign, senator, you know, November's coming. You wouldn't believe how many incidents, well, not because of COVID so much, but even on Zoom, people are still having. There are things that are going on to educate yourself and to familiarize yourself of who's on the ticket, who's who. If you care enough to get yourself involved, to go to these events, they are there. I promise you, they're there.
Right. Because I mean, now that we're in this age of virtual, everything's virtual. Candidates are having Zoom meetings.
Yeah, and that's even easier. Just in the comfort of your own home, you can hear a candidate speak.
Absolutely.
You can hear it. It's so easy. Zoom is
during
made
the primaries, I went on YouTube just to find old debates to see where these people kind of stand. So there's already enough content, like on YouTube, of them debating one another.
You can see, like everybody. If I heard a name, I would just immediately go, you know, Google that person's name, look them up. Where's this person stand? What they're talking about? It's easy. We have the greatest computer right at the tip of our fingers. You know, do your research. If you want to find out a senator, Google when is the next judicial forum coming up. I guarantee you, people want people to be at these events that are hosting these things. They're definitely there in the community.
The information is out there, and now it seems like there are going to be more hurdles.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what are some hurdles that you see or voter suppression that you see coming up on the horizon here before our
Yeah,
next
I
election?
think all those voter ID things, they're just that those are just hurdles. Shortening the time for early voting, that's just another hurdle. Making it hard to vote by mail is another hurdle. But again, you know that early voting starts in October. So leading up to actual voting in this November, there's gonna probably be a span of about, if I'm not mistaken, 21 days, 3 weeks. So I would say, please do not wait till the last minute. Go early when there's hardly anyone there during the day. You can go on your lunchtime. Even if you got a mail-in ballot, you don't even have to mail it if you're worried about it may not get there in time. You can do your mail-in ballot and just go to the post office and just drop it there. You can educate yourself, do things that your vote is definitely going to count. Get there. Like when I'm doing early, I never really vote on the day of. I always do early voting because I'll just find a place. I have teenagers. I'll say, hey, go now before that final day. Take no chances. Just go now. It's like at your lunchtime, just go and vote. No one will be there. You'll be in and out in 5 minutes. Do it early because they're going to give you that those weeks are going to be there. People wait till the last minute, then something could happen. Anything could happen. I would say go early as you can. Get it over with. Go do your civic duty. Vote as early as you can.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's see. What actions can the public take to be better prepared? No, I think that was kind of the research thing. Are you confident in the Postal Service's ability to handle the anticipated increase in mail-in votes?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the inner workings of the post office to say this. But I said if you are worried about it, and you don't want to go because Corona, you're elderly, you can fill that out, and you can have someone take you. You don't even have to go on that day of. You can just you could go right up there. They have those little things you put it right in. It's things that you can do to override that fear that before I'm not going to wait to mail mine because you can have it post stamped all the way I think up until the day of or whatever, but you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait that long. Again, if you have this thing, do it early. Send it in as early as you can. Take no chances. Go up there and put it to the post office yourself that it has reached the post office. Now, again, I don't know enough about the early. It concerns me when I saw, like I'm sure everyone else, the pictures of all the postal boxes being taken away, these mail sorting machines being taken apart and disassembled. That worries me. Like, what are they trying to do? Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic and a national election is going on. Why would they be cutting back at this time? This can't wait till after November. So that gives me pause, it gives me concern, but I'm hoping people would do steps to not let their ballot at the last minute. Think about it. Do your research, vote, send your ballot in early if that is going to be the way that you choose to vote.
Yes, ma'am. Do you view voting any differently now than you did before being in an elected position?
Oh yeah, man, I know now how important it is. Like every little vote, people don't think that it counts. That Trayvon Martin's mother, she ran for something. It slips in my mind what she ran for, but she lost by 331 votes.
Yeah.
And did you hear that story? She lost by just a narrow margin. Now, there have been judges in Bexar County that have lost by 7 votes. Oh, wow. 7 votes. Now, so when we're running and we can do the numbers of like how people are voting for us. Like we'll know like when the voters are coming in and say on primary night, we were watching the numbers come in. Oh, so really? You'll get your numbers like let's say they'll call it like, okay, so I can say I can beat my opponent by this much, but they don't have such things as an overvote or an undervote. An overvote is for whatever reason, someone came down there to vote and they just didn't select my name. And so like they know that person came down there, but they didn't pick me. So that's called an undervote. I didn't get that vote. who knows? But an overvote is that someone came down there and they only voted for you. Like I got two overvotes. And that always tickles me that someone went down there, clicked my name, I'm done, I'm out. And I was thinking, is that what it was? My teenage son's friends.
So you can't vote for like anyone else on the entire.
Nobody. They only clicked my name and walked out. Now I got a lot of undervotes that people skipped over my name, but I got 2 overvotes with me. They only voted for me. That tickles me to this day. So I would take all that time and not vote for anyone else, right? Well, I'm glad they did.
But you know what? And I think that's probably because of the research that you mentioned. They probably didn't do the research, because sometimes you find yourself in there and you didn't know, because a lot of people, I don't think they realize. The sample ballot way beforehand and see exactly what they're going to vote on. And so they get there, and the language sometimes on these ballots,
it's confusing.
Double negatives, and you're like, so does this mean I'm voting for or against? Whatever initiative that they're talking about.
I'll contrive, I think, to confuse us on purpose. Like, what are they really? And I'm a lawyer, and I'll go in and I'm like, what are they saying? I know this was that school bomb, but it's worded in such a way that I don't even know if I'm voting for or against it, right? It's really confusing. But if you go to that part about educating yourself beforehand, if there's something like some initiatives on, if you go to any kind of platforms or events and they're educating you what this is about, they'll probably mention how it's going to be worded, because you can actually see that language when they print out sample ballots, again, about educating yourself. And it sounds hard to do, but it is really not that hard to do, to educate yourself. I'm telling you, the people that are putting on these events, let's say NAACP will have maybe a judicial forum. They want people to come. They don't want to make it hard. They're trying to make it as easy as possible for the public to understand who's on the ballot, who you should vote for, what initiative. Everyone that's doing these events, they really are trying to educate the public. So if you really want to learn, I'm telling you, there are people out there that are really, truly trying to help you understand who's on the ballot.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I have 2 teenagers, and they are very analytical. My girl, I have 3, but my girls are the ones that mainly are very smart, all A students. And how can a young person prepare themselves if they have aspirations to become a publicly elected official?
Well, I would say that when I was campaigning, I would get groups like my son, he was in high school. His government teacher knew that I was running, and he would give credit to his government class for people that would come down and work with me. So I would give them T-shirts. They would go and hang flyers on their door, walk around the neighborhood. These are just high school students. And then anybody can volunteer to work in whatever party of your choosing, the Democrat or Republican Party. You just want to answer the phone, but you're putting yourself in that environment. You're getting it's nothing like having an inside look at the system from the inside of, like, you want to work on a campaign, like your children or any child that says, I want to help. If you call up any campaign and anybody that's running right now, I guarantee that person go because it's all volunteer. They don't really have much money. I know I didn't in my campaign, but people that wanted to come down and volunteer and work with me, I was happy to have the help. And you get to see from the inside, and you'll get to be there when the person wins, and you be part of the happiness of it. If you want to, what I'm saying is that anybody that's really running, and people that want to reach out and say, I want to volunteer, what do you need me to do? Hardly anyone will refuse that free help, and I think that student, it just gets you a little bit closer to, so this is how I never knew this. Sometimes my children, they were running along with me like, they got a good education and campaigning because, they were there with me when I was having my rallies, my first rally, all the way at the end when I won. They got a good education in how a campaign was run. They were my help in a lot of things. They were my free help, I say, especially my free help. Free labor.
That works. Now on to my son. Again, smart young man. And as a young Black male, what would you say to young Black males? Because we're all catching it from all sides. It's the Black males that we're seeing on TV lately, like just happened this weekend,
Oh yeah,
when it
terrible.
comes to, like, I guess he's only in junior high, but those that are in high school about to hit 18 years of age,
Mhm.
kind of engaged, but not necessarily. What would you tell them when it comes to getting engaged, when it comes to voting, the young Black males?
Because I know that some of them feel so much like, what is the use? It's not changing anything. Things are changing so slowly. But I mean, can you imagine, like, if we didn't have people like, you know, Martin Luther King, John Lewis, that didn't make that decision to step out and help do something that was for their fellow man. Like, even in the face of, like, this seems impossible, I know I'm going to get hurt, I can even be killed, they still made those decisions for us, for our community. And I really just can't think about and thank them enough, because I'll think like, I mean, did you watch the movie Selma? Oh man, when I think about what our ancestors did for us, like, it's no way I cannot go vote. And when I MLK is a big holiday here in San Antonio. It's like, I've gone every year to March. When I just think about what our ancestors, 60, 70 years ago, they were doing, Rosa Parks were doing for us. Like, and so you, in the comfort of your own home, and how much you could do now, say, I'm not going to vote. And do you know what your ancestors went to enable that you would have that right to vote? And if your voting didn't count and didn't matter, why are they trying so hard right now to suppress it if it didn't matter? They're trying awfully hard. They're putting these roadblocks everywhere to make it so that you can't vote. Why would someone go through all that trouble if it didn't matter? It matters. I mean, you just got to look past all the, you got to look past and see why are you doing this? What is the purpose of, why would you vote? What is the purpose of you voting, especially young Black males, and seeing what they go through? But change can only come through if we have people in those positions to facilitate, like Kamala Harris.
Mhm.
I'm so happy, because to me, she's like me. She's a Black woman that, she went to HBU, and now she's somewhere, like, I can see myself reflected in her. And all the negative things that people are saying about her, I can see that in me. We're never good enough. We don't work hard enough. We're too aggressive. We're too lazy. We're everything. We're all over what they want to label us as. But I can see myself like, here I am, I'm working, I have kids, and I'm trying to make it, I'm trying to become a lawyer, I'm trying to affect change for my community. And then you're going to get the big pushback all the time. So people like that, people that are doing, they're moving, I call it moving the needle, and doing things for the community. And then, to me, the greatest, if you're working and you're working hard for someone else, it makes you feel good that you're helping the other people. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, think about, again, back to, do it for your children, do it for your grandchildren, do it for that. You may not even see the results now, but I tell you, one day that down the road, people are going to see that what you did, how you were, because I can't thank all of our ancestors and the people of the community for that work that died during the civil rights movement, for how I am here now having this Zoom meeting and sitting as a judge. Can you imagine doing in 1952, a Black woman judge? Had we ever heard of such a thing? No.
What would you say to those people that are considering like a third party candidate, like a Kanye West, or somebody else might come out, Libertarian Party
Yeah.
might come out with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell anyone how to vote, but I mean, but you're intelligent enough to look at the situation, look at what's going on in the White House. Do you want this to continue? Do you want, because again, that thing about who's in the White House, but look beyond the White House to look at the Supreme Court. Who's going to get appointed to Supreme Court? Because the Supreme Court judges are for life. And they make rules that really govern our lives. And that's, Judge Ginsburg is, she's getting up in years there. I think that's pretty soon,
like that.
Yeah, she's almost in her 90s, because who's going to be making these rules? Because that rule that struck down the civil rights, the civil rights that have been governed in these southern states, and how all the things that happened on the civil rights movement, when the Civil Rights Act was enacted on the LBJ, it got struck down. And now look where we are. That's why these states are putting on these big roadblocks, because that whole law was struck down, because that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they made that decision. Nah, we don't have any more discrimination. We don't need the Civil Rights Voting Act anymore. Now look where we are. You know, they think that the the Supreme Court made that decision, and there will be things that will come along that are going to be affecting us. And it really matters who's sitting on that, who is sitting on those benches in the Supreme Court of these United States. So the man in office, the president, is going to make that decision, or who's going to be the next coming up Supreme Court, and who do you want that to be? You know, and like I think that this is just one of the most crucial elections that we have coming. And people need to take this as serious as it is. And I think it's very serious. I mean, did you ever imagine that you would have a sitting president post something of white power? Yeah. Can you imagine that? Never. And this day and time, we thought we had come so far. And he deletes it. Oh, I didn't mean to do it. Yeah, you meant to do it. Mm-hmm. You knew exactly what you were doing.
So let me ask you this. So we have candidate A over here is showing us, who he is. Mm-hmm. What is it? Dr. Maya Angelou said, if people show you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
Also, the other candidate who has a past as well, and people really love to, point to the past of the candidates. One is about how many people, ended up in prosecuted, and then the other one is about that crime bill. So what would you say to folks who are so focused on the past and say, I can't ever vote for this guy because of the crime bill. I can't vote for her because she locked up.
That crime bill came out in '93, and that was my first year of law school. And people they forget that when that crime bill, it was not only Joe Biden. It was like a lot of Black people that were for that crime bill. Don't act like y'all forgot y'all on certain bill. There was a lot of people for that crime bill because crime had got really bad during that time. There was the Crips and the Blood. So don't act like you got amnesia. You forgot. It was not like people are looking at it in the lens of 22 and like, oh, now. But place yourself back then when that bill and lots of other people were for that bill, that they forgot what was the atmosphere and why did that bill go for. Now, the unintended consequences of so many people going to prison for simple things. And yes, that was an unintended consequence. And it was horrible how that bill, because the documentary 13, it shows you, and that bill probably certainly did add to this pipeline to prison thing. But during that time, was that the intent? I don't think it was. I don't believe that was the intent. They thought they were doing good, but at least if you can say, I did something and I realize now in hindsight that was a bad thing. If you can ask for forgiveness that because who among us are perfect, have never made mistakes? Have you ever seen the current occupant of the White House apologize for anything? And I do mean anything. If you can say I did wrong, and I would have, if I'd known that it would have turned out like this, I wouldn't have made that choice, because of course people could say that I would have done that. Well, at the time you thought you were doing good. It didn't turn out that way. It really didn't turn out that way, how you thought it was. And we see now that it was a wrong road to go down. It was definitely a wrong road to go down. But at the time, people thought they were doing good. They thought they were addressing the needs because in a lot of Black communities, they were for that crime bill. It was a whole bunch of Black communities that were for that crime bill. Nobody knew that it would turn out the way it did. Maybe some people did, but that was not the intentions of it. So if you can say, if you can be a man and say, I made a mistake, what I did then, if I knew now, I wouldn't have done it. Then I am okay with that, because if you are a person that can admit your mistakes and want to do better when you know better, do better, then you can work with a person like that.
Amen. Amen. So, thank you so much. You nailed it. Exactly what I tell people is that you got to look at it in context. Back then, totally different time. And
it was a totally different time.
Some of the leaders that we looked up to and we loved and are iconic supported that bill.
Mm-hmm. It really was. People they forget. Like, I remember that a little because I graduated from UT Austin, and I was on my I worked a couple of years at the Capitol, and I was on my way to law school when all that was coming about. And people didn't think that was a bad thing during that time. People thought that was a good thing. They didn't think that this was we were trying to deliver, do you think I want to send my brothers to prison for life for small crimes? No, people thought that this would be a good thing. It's just one of some of those things that you do something, it turns out, the effect of what we did made things worse. And now that you see how it made things worse, and you got to change course. And it's all about when you know better, you do better. But to stay on that same course, that would be horrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Judge Huff, my last question to you.
Okay.
Just anything is something that you'd really like to express to the public concerning the topic of voting, just whatever comes to mind. What would your parting?
Well, I just really think I just really hate to hear people that say that I'm not going to vote because my vote don't count, because that is just not the truth. And especially like I campaign, I'm an elected official, and I can see it from this other side. Your vote really does count. If you believe that and you really meant that, you should put your that faith, that sentiment to the test. Go and volunteer in someone's campaign and see how much every vote matters. Like I said, like if you really cared about, if you said I care about my community, then you know that voting matters, because especially on this local level, how important it is that voting, when you get people in office that are going to do good for you, if you don't vote, how are you going to ever affect change? You have to vote. Your vote truly does matter. I can say that 1,000 times a day. Your vote matters. Your vote matters. It really true. Being on both sides, someone that was a defense attorney and now I'm an elected official, I can tell you, even when I was a defense attorney, I always knew I voted. The first president I ever voted for when I was 18 was I voted for Mondale against Reagan. I think it was against Reagan. Was it Mondale? Because I was 18. I knew even then how important voting was, right? And I don't miss voting ever, because I really do know. And even now, more so as a candidate, I know how important voting is. And I challenge you, if you don't think voting is important, volunteer for a campaign. Come volunteer for my campaign. And you're going to soon find out how important even every one vote is how important it is.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Judge Yolanda Huff, for taking the time to speak to the brothers of Delta Rho Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I didn't even say my name, so just to make sure it's on the video, I'm Gregorio Armand. So much for taking the time, Judge. We've been blessed by your comments and motivated for sure to get out there and make our vote count.
We hope that you enjoyed our conversation with County Court Judge Yolanda Huff. More importantly, it's our sincere desire that you not only register and vote, but also encourage others to do the same. If you live in the state of Texas, you may go to www.votetexas.gov to find out more information, such as whether you are registered to vote, where your polling place is located, and rules concerning how to vote by mail. Please keep in mind that the last day to register to vote for the general election is October 5th, 2020. Early voting in Texas will run from October 13th to October 30th, 2020, and the general election takes place on November 3rd, 2020. Again, I am Gregorio Armand, representing the Delta Rho Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at the polls.